Welcome into a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here in a full house at the UDL. Whole crew's here. Noah's here. Jack's here. Katie's here. Lizzie, and we will talk to Jay. We will talk to new LSU head baseball coach Jay Johnson coming up here at 8 o'clock this morning, an hour from now. So stick around as we will talk to Coach Johnson about the offseason, fall ball, what to expect, new schedule announced for LSU. We'll get his thoughts on the schedule. How was recruiting in his first year in the purple and gold? Lots to talk to with new head baseball coach Jay Johnson coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. He'll be here at 8 o'clock this morning. 7:30, we'll talk to Josh Pate. He is from Go 247. He's got a great show on YouTube, which wraps up the college football weekend, looks ahead to the Saturday coming up. He's going to be over in Dallas this weekend at Jerry World for Texas A&M and Arkansas. We will talk to him about that matchup and what the implications can mean in the Southeastern Conference. His thoughts on Alabama and Florida last weekend. LSU heading into Mississippi State is an enormous game for really both programs, but really LSU, and just the feeling, the temperature of Ed Orgeron and his crew coming out of Starkville on how they play on Saturday. We'll ask Josh Pate about it coming up here this morning at 7:30 this morning. Remember, daily here on the Jordy Culotta Show, we're brought to you by Go Chevrolet, online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. You can find them online. New car lot is located out in LaPlace. Used car lot over here in Baton Rouge. Stop in and see the crew, Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and everybody over there. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show, as they are proud supporters. Our coffee daily is brought to you by Majestic Coffee. Majestic is brewed down here in South Louisiana. You can find your own online at delicioussips.com. True Blue Water, TRU bluewater.com is where you can find them online. And our official spice is Papa Earl's, as 30% less sodium than the competition. Find them anywhere locally. High Neighbor, Calandro's, Rouse's, anywhere you shop here around South Louisiana, you can find Papa Earl's. Pick up your can today. And we appreciate them supporting the Jordy Culotta Show as always. And our guest, Coach Jay Johnson and Josh Pate, are via compliments of Metropolitan Health Group. Real doctors, real solutions. Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, and the entire crew over at Metropolitan Health Group bring us our phone sponsor here on the Jordy Culotta Show. So we will get into it. Andre Anthony released a statement yesterday. Feel terrible for the senior. We'll talk a little bit about what could be next, who's next up. Mason Smith sliding out to defensive end.
Mason.
Yeah, double A.
You can't not say it like that.
The Superdome is on fire. Has anybody ever heard of a
gutter tub?
Of a gutter tub?
Or tub gutter.
I think it's the gutter system. I was reading about it, and the pressure washer caught on fire.
How?
Is how the fire started.
Okay, so the pressure washer
the
caught
actual
on
pressure
fire.
washer caught fire.
And it was sitting in the gutter tub.
I guess it was sitting in the gutter tub. I think that's the
Does that guy still have a
exterior
job?
gutter system.
That's the one you got to pass the buck on. You know, a lot of shit can get lost in the gutter tub. I don't know who was up there. I don't know who was on call.
Who was manning that pressure washer?
You're fired.
This is above my pay grade.
Come here. What the hell is going on up here,
Paid enough
man?
for this bullshit. I'm out of here.
Everybody's safe and sound up at the Dome, but
I think they had one injury. One
the minor
injury.
burn I saw. Everybody's
Probably
good
from the
though.
guy.
The pressure washer.
Shit.
Yeah,
The guy that was down in the
Oh no! Son of a bitch. The NFL did say after final assessments, the Louisiana Stadium and Exposition. Did I say that right? Exposition District, along with Superdome Management Company, says that they believe that no events, no games will be affected from the fires. It was contained to the exterior of the building. It looked bad for a minute. It looked like it was like billowing smoke from inside.
From a pressure washer catching fire.
Yeah, right. I was like,
pretty large.
Say
I
what?
thought it was a cigarette.
I mean, I couldn't. I was like, this is nuts, man. I thought there was an 18-wheeler up there that exploded.
It was a slow burn. They just kind of let it kind of keep festering itself, and nobody was really. It didn't seem like there was an immediate action taking place.
Like, oh, there's concrete above it. It's fine. It's not going to go through. And I'm like, what type of fire safety is that? It's fine.
Yeah, right.
Superdome's on
We're all good.
Fine.
All right, it'll
Oh,
take
yeah.
care of itself. It's gonna rain later today.
Anybody thought about lunch yet?
Get some mallows.
What do you think's next to burn in New Orleans? You had an 18-wheeler, Superdome.
No.
I could
Smoothie game?
I could pick a couple of spots that I hope burn, but it seems like it's a crapshoot right now on what's burning. But it feels like everything's on fire, man. Every time you look up,
It does.
something's burning in New Orleans. All right, so stick around. We'll talk about everything that's coming up this weekend. Ed Orgeron will be speaking on his radio show tonight, so you'll get more information on LSU. He'll also be on the SEC teleconference this morning. The 2022 schedules were released yesterday as far as future schedules go in the SEC. We'll give some reaction to LSU's latest, including opening up against Florida State in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
That's gonna be so
Or,
cool.
excuse me, Caesar's Palace. Yeah, Superdome. My bad.
If it's still standing and not
The
burning.
torched
It's
Caesar's
torch.
Palace.
Somebody must have got a little heater there at the
Superdome. Yeah,
Superdome.
right. I wonder if I burn it down, I don't have to pay.
It's a real casino move there.
It is. LSU's 2022 schedule announced yesterday, so we'll give some reaction there. Lots to get to coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Full house for the first time.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Does feel good.
Feels right.
Feels good. How's campus, Jack?
It's pretty good. I mean, I like walking past the parade grounds and being like, my Jesus, what did we do? I mean, we
One
salted
game
that
in.
place.
One game in. I mean, it's only one game.
I don't know what's gonna happen to Auburn. I mean, that's like 14 hours.
God.
We are planning something hopefully special for Auburn that hopefully we'll be able to pull off, because everything that we were talking about yesterday, and the more you talk to people around town, the more you get the feeling of people just have their kind of toe dipped in the water on LSU football right now. But if they win on Saturday, I feel like people will be swan diving into the deep end.
Cannonball.
I mean, like, just
There's no
we're
middle
here to
ground in this
party,
game.
and on Saturday, if the weather is like it is today, which I mean today
It is gonna be, I think.
fantastic. I'm talking about a week from Saturday.
Oh.
If
not
that
bad.
Auburn game, when you open up SEC play at home with an 8 o'clock kickoff in Tiger Stadium, and LSU is coming off of a win versus Mississippi State, it'll be the best environment you've seen in that place since Florida 2019.
You know who has
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You know who has a bye week? Joe Burrow. That
does he
Auburn.
really?
I
Are
think
you
that's what
kidding
people
me?
are saying.
Oh my
So
gosh!
he could
Imagine
be
if
here.
all those stars
Oh my
aligned.
gosh!
Yeah.
I mean,
Joe Burrow at half.
and Jamar Chase.
And Jamar Chase.
I mean, bring
Oh,
them
no.
both back. Are you kidding me?
Toss Thomas Shelvin a bone.
Yeah, right. Ride the
What up, big
coattails,
team?
bro.
Come on out here, brother.
That would be electric. That would be amazing. I mean, you've got to make that happen, right? I mean, I'd imagine that Burrow would love to come back home now. I mean, with the full capacity crowd.
Well, Auburn was essentially his coming out party. That's when he made, at Auburn, he makes the throw, and then he gets the LSU season back on track. But that was our first real taste of Joe Burrow and what he can do offensively. So I'm
Maybe
sure
he
that
can plant that
makes him
seed.
feel good.
Can we
too.
confirm that?
I'm looking it up right now.
Living
Yeah,
part
let's
two
see.
photo?
They played that Thursday. So
They play on Thursday
Thursday.
night.
Where do they play?
See if you can get him to
It's
do
fine.
post game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fine.
they're,
It's
fly-
easy.
they're flying
Easy.
private.
That's easy.
Or Sting can get a plane.
Game day picker.
Whew.
Yeah, see
Would
if
Game
you
Day
can
be
get
here?
him in the UDL.
No.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah,
You gotta
we'll
be-
post game with Joe
UDL would be
Burrow.
unbelievable.
Oh my
Him and Ray.
god.
Chalk talking.
I'd imagine that Burrow's got too many people to see if he gets back in town.
oh yeah,
Post game ain't gonna be the gig.
he's been carb loaded.
He'll be going to houses.
Yes. Welcome back, Joe.
Welcome back, Joe.
Right this way. You remember the room.
He wouldn't be at all surprised by a blindfold.
God, that would be electric, man. If LSU wins on Saturday, the bandwagon is going to fill back up for sure.
What if
Without
they
a doubt.
lose?
I still believe if they lose that it'll still be a really cool environment. It'll really be a good day. But the electricity won't be, the voltage won't be as high if they lose compared to if they win. I still think either way, you're getting a great day, day of tailgating, a great atmosphere. Obviously a night game in LSU here over the last couple of seasons really, more than that have been hard to come by. So if you get an opportunity to take part in one of these, usually people are going to show up and show out. But if they win, that will be a week worth of buzz that leads up to Saturday where, I mean, it feels like it's going to pop, explode. Like, I mean, we've all felt those games, those moments here in Baton Rouge. If you've been following LSU for at least a decade, I mean, you've been you've been a part of these a couple of times, but an early season, big time matchup in Tiger Stadium with a team rolling with momentum is about as good an atmosphere as you can paint in the sport. I mean, really, under the lights in Tiger Stadium at night, full capacity. It just, sure, we're biased, but I mean, I've heard, outsiders and people that follow the sport that don't have any type of bias built in on it say that, it's about as magical of place that you can find within college football. It feels like it's setting up for that a week from Saturday if LSU can take care of business this week versus Mississippi State.
Yeah, and you talk about like the environment and the culture. I think SVP said it best whenever he did his sign off with on SVP radio whenever he was with ESPN.
Yeah.
He made a point to talk about Baton Rouge and LSU and night games, and he's like, when that place is right, brother, there was no better time to go travel to Baton Rouge. So and he has national perspective, so it's not just us, sunshine pumping, but LSU, if like you said, if they can roll into this with winning Mississippi State is probably the most important factor for it to be as right as it could be, because people are, like you said, checked in and checked out of LSU football. But if they roll in with a win kind of convincingly against Mississippi State, you will see everybody full tilt back on the bandwagon for LSU. Maybe it's just for one more game, but that Auburn environment will be electric.
Yeah.
Before UCLA, it was up there. Then we lost.
Right.
No, this is about as good as you could ask for the next 2 weeks for Ed Orgeron as far as getting the public back on and behind him. You know what I mean? Like if he goes to Mississippi State, then comes and back to Baton Rouge and performs under the lights versus Auburn in front of his entire fan base, then LSU is off and running. Now, Brandon Hollingsworth types in Inside the Bunker and said it's hard to have a ton of faith in the rest of the season when LSU cannot run the ball against anyone like the likes of McNeese and Central Michigan. This is the SEC. You've got to be able to run the ball to win in this league, and that is a very true statement, and LSU has been shoved around for the first month on the offensive line. There's just no way around that. When you look at LSU playing over the past couple of weeks, they have had consistent problems and troubles on that offensive front. Now, they've got some guys coming back this week that feel like you're going to get an upgrade in some personnel. Chasen Hines played last weekend, but he'll go again, obviously, starting SEC play. Austin Deculus. Saw reports of Garrett Dellinger getting some looks at right tackle, and I know that there were some sentiment early on in camp that they were very high on the true freshman possibly being able to crack into the lineup at some point during his first year. Now, he was set back with an injury in fall camp, and many anticipated that he would have to have surgery. He opted not to have surgery. This was a shoulder situation that Dellinger was dealing with. So, however he is handling that pain I guess is kind of the option that they're going with now of no surgery, play through it at the end of the season, just kind of get it repaired under the knife. But it seems like he's an option. It doesn't look like Cam Wire is going to be back. Am I reading into that correctly? I talking to a couple of people over there. I know that Jack, you were at practice yesterday. I don't know if you were able to see the offensive line.
I wasn't able to spot him in a yellow jersey. I don't think he was on the field.
What happened with him?
He got banged up a couple of weeks back, and we hadn't seen him. We hadn't seen him in a while.
But you mentioned the injuries. They are getting a good chunk of people back. It looks like Jay Ward's going to be able to play, which will be huge. You get Dwight McLaughlin and Jay Ward back. You saw what Dwight McLaughlin did. I feel like he made a significant impact on the defensive end. It was nice to see him out there. And then Jay Ward in the first UCLA looked great. Mm-hmm. So that's momentum building in the right direction. And then Mason Smith moving to defensive end is electric. But you mentioned not being able to run the football, and it looks like Ty Davis Price might not be able to go. He was in a gold jersey. I don't know, but it seems like he's been hurt all year.
Yeah,
it never looked like he was right.
He was hurt in camp. He got the Leonard Fournette injury, where he gets hurt 2 weeks before the start of the season, and you start the year and he never gets healthy. Where you keep running him and you have to count on him and he's got to get reps and he's got to play and he never has the opportunity to rehab.
That makes the John Emery situation so much worse because they
does.
didn't have anybody to throw out there.
To me, it puts more pressure on Armani Goodwin.
Kiner.
Because Kiner, to me, is your starter. I don't know what else Kiner has to do to get the starting job. I mean, to me, he has been your most consistent, most powerful, most agile back that has played through the first month of the season. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to play the best guys, and Kiner clearly is, if you don't have Emery, you don't know what Price's status is with his injury. Armani Goodwin's been in and out of the lineup. I mean, Kiner, if for no other reason, he's the most healthy, and he has been efficient when he's been out there. I think the combination of Armani Goodwin and Corey Kiner can win you football games in the SEC. I mean, I think you definitely have to have two guys to get it done. And a combination of those two freshmen, in my opinion, on just the little sample size we've seen of each. I mean, Goodwin is
electric.
Dog.
Absolutely. I mean, he can change the scoreboard quick.
Especially passing.
And, Kiner's a guy you can just feed. So, I don't...
The duality of man. You got both Thunder and Lightning. That's what they obviously did with the recruiting class. The only pushback I'd give you is I don't know if I want to give Corey Kiner his first start at Mississippi State on the road, 11 a.m., whenever. If TDP can go, I would shove him out there for the first series and let him get acclimated. And you do the same thing for Kiner, where you just kind of move him into the game, free-flowing, let him get his feet underneath him, not a lot of pressure.
So he has the hot hand on
Yeah,
us.
then by like the third and fourth quarter, he's just out there more than you thought he would be.
Yeah. And I get that, but to me, that's what the first month of the season is for.
Yeah.
Is to figure out that rotation. And from my standpoint, from my vantage point, it's shaken out. I mean, the cream has rise to the top. I mean, that's how this stuff works. You just get out there, play him, see who's the best. Corey Kiner's the best. Play the guy. You know what I mean? I understand that you don't want to put too much pressure and you don't want to have a moment too big, but come on. At the end of the day, this is football. These guys have been playing this thing since they've been 7 years old. They've been waiting for this moment, and here it is. If he goes out there and he pisses down his leg, you got a good teaching moment. But, I mean, how many times have we seen, as LSU fans or supporters of a big-time program, just look around on Saturday, and these first-year guys making impacts on Saturday. LSU has those types of players. Mason Smith, Jack Besh, Deion Smith. I mean, those guys are ready for the spotlight. Right? I mean, to me, Corey Kiner and Armani Goodwin feel the same way. They feel like, to me, they feel like they've paid their dues. They've shown you that they can handle the workload. Put them out there. Let them go.
Have you ever seen a freshman class like this at LSU play this immediately? I guess we wanted to see him even earlier, but now the fact that they're out there and playing, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that there's been some comps. You saw like Fournette and Malachi Dupree and Jamal Adams and a lot of Trey Turner and a lot of those guys play early on when they were here. But that's the way of college football. You know what I mean? Like I look at, I was reading some of the stuff yesterday down in Miami. It looks like Manny Diaz is about to get washed out of there because the boosters, everybody is just had it up, and they're tired of what they're watching.
God, they were so excited to hire him too.
I know.
They were. Well, in doing a little bit of research, they didn't have a national search. The athletic director kind of buoyed himself to him. Mark Richt really set this program up to be successful. I mean, in 2017, they were a game away from the playoff. Now, nobody really thought them to be a contender, but it showed that they were kind of making strides of improving. Right? Now, Richt has health problems, steps away kind of overnight, kind of suddenly in the middle of the night, he's out. And he said, he kind of hand selects Manny Diaz.
Wasn't he his defensive coordinator?
He was his defensive coordinator. Manny Diaz's dad was the mayor of Miami. Oof. You know what I mean? Like he's very well known. He's kind of like Miami's son, right?
That all sounds very familiar.
Like growing up, right? And what the problem is that he's learning on the job, right? And it's not the people of Miami are arguing this is not a cut your teeth while you're your coaching type of gig.
But didn't you think he would do better than he did? I mean, I always liked him. He was Mississippi State's defensive coordinator, too.
And he was
I
up at
thought he
Louisiana
was
Tech for a
great.
while.
Yeah.
They ran him out of Austin. I thought that was a red flag when they ran him out of Texas.
It's hard to look into that, though, because Texas will do
No
that
doubt.
to anybody.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
Boosters,
no
yeah.
doubt. But it was a red flag if you're just kind of looking at it now. I thought that he would be able to recruit the area, obviously
Yeah.
being from there and knowing the premium that you would just put. I mean, it would be like being at LSU and being in New Orleans. Like you gotta win that city if you want to compete. If you're Miami's head coach, you gotta win Miami. You gotta win South Florida, right? And like people are just coming in there and kind of cherry pick Saban. You know what I mean?
Dabo.
Kirby Smart, Dabo's going down there and grabbing a couple of players. Florida's gone down there and grabbed a couple of players. And you know, it's just I don't know how we got off on the Miami situation.
How did we get there? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I'd do it.
No, I know. I was trying to bring it full circle on how
Well,
we
we were
went to.
talking about Mississippi State LSU, and then got to Miami somehow.
I don't know.
Let us know in the bunker.
Yeah, but I
We
feel,
don't listen to the show. We just do the show.
but I feel like Miami's about to open. I feel like Miami's about to open up. You know what I mean? Like I feel
Oh,
like
that's how you started. That's how you started the conversation.
yeah. I mean, I feel like that job is they've had enough. They're about to kind of like burn the place down.
Doesn't that make you a little bit nervous? When obviously we talked a lot about LSU maybe being out.
Oh, I know how I was getting there.
There we go.
Yes, I know I was getting there.
I
I'm
was about
sorry.
to filibuster.
We were talking about playing the young. We were talking about playing the
young,
youngsters,
yeah.
playing the rookies, playing the freshmen.
I did start it.
And Manny Diaz is saying out in the public that he is really disappointed because his veteran players are letting him down. He's playing a bunch of juniors and seniors, and people around him are saying, if you want to hang on to your job, if you want any shot at keeping your gig, you got to play the guys that you've recruited and show them that, look, there's a future here. We've got something that we can build on. We got something that we can count on. Like in Ed Orgeron's instance, you can look at Mason Smith, Jack Besh, and Deion Smith and be like, all right, I feel pretty good about the way that the things look kind of going into the future, right? I mean, so to debate you on your point of playing these guys too early, put them out there. And then not to say that Orgeron is playing for his job, but in a sense, he's kind of coaching for his job, right?
I mean, he said it himself. He said, every game from here on out is a must-win in my mind because he's heard everything where it's like you have to win 10 games.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So he knows that the pressure is squarely on his shoulders because this conversation from Mississippi State and Auburn being the game, a game that might look like a 2019 Florida game, that all changes if you lose to Mississippi State because his ass is directly back on the hot seat with a loss to Mississippi State, especially if it looks anything like Mississippi State looked like last year. Like, there's still variables in the game, within the game, where he could still be right back on the hot seat. But if you're him, he's putting those young guys out there. It's almost like a GM drafting a quarterback first overall.
Sure.
It's like, this will save my job for 3 years. Like, let me develop these 3 wide receivers you just saw. So O's thing that he can lean on most is recruiting, and now he's shoved it in your face. Like, look how good, like, look at the talent I can bring in.
You think he's sleeping this week?
I don't know anything about him.
I think more than any week this season,
He's sleeping?
this one's keeping
That's the
him
biggest
up.
one right now.
He
more
keeps
than
himself
any.
up.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's got to be saying to himself, if we look like we did against UCLA,
I'm toast.
bro.
where we haven't made any strides, and Leach comes out here with a 4-play playbook. 4 plays he ran against LSU last year. Like, said it in the public. Like, I mean, we only ran 4 plays.
Just
today.
did ask
I
Matt.
mean, yeah, right. Like, I mean, just
Play from recents.
he's got to be thinking like, if LSU, from Ed Orgeron's standpoint, like thinking here on this Wednesday morning as he gets into preparation, somewhere in the back of his head, he's got to be saying, if we look like
last
we
year.
did last year, or we look like we did 3 weeks ago, where it was a mirror image of what the Mississippi State game looked like last season, and Leach dices and cuts him up, he knows what that will mean for him ultimately. So I wonder what the preparation is like. I'd imagine that the preparation this week is very
Cross your
thumb
ups.
on everybody.
Well, is that
you know
not,
what I mean?
Is
Kinda-
that not the thing when Orgeron does that makes you the most nervous about him?
Yes.
Because when he starts to get, I mean, we go back to the quote, "I'm gonna do it my way." Like he said that. But whenever he gets almost over
Yeah,
involved,
that was at Rotary.
Yeah.
And then whenever he gets over involved in these things, it's almost he loves it so much. It's like the Tommy Boy whenever he has the the roll at the dinner scene. He's like, and I squished my pet and I killed it. I killed the sale. That's what it feels like with that Orgeron. He's like, he wants to do it so badly that he chokes it to death. But whenever it gets to these scenarios where he knows his ass is on the line, it makes me nervous that he's going to throw the headset on and start kind of getting into his coordinator's pockets a little bit.
It was like when you used to see Les Miles with the play sheet in his hand.
That was the worst sight
I mean, you were like, we are screwed.
Capital F.
I mean, like, it's over.
It's over.
It's over.
Tossed out 55 times.
Is Austin Deculus back?
He should be.
This
I mean, it hasn't been. I mean, he'll be asked that this morning on the SEC teleconference, and tonight he's practicing. He played last week. He got banged up at the end of the game, but the way he came off the field looked as if he would be okay. You know what I mean?
He's like,
he's going to get the crowd.
Boudin balls.
God.
He's what?
I said, give him some Boudin balls. He'll be fine.
That was an impressive sight.
That was
Never
very.
seen somebody eat so many
Johnson
Boudin
and
balls.
Spillers is our dentist over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. Make them yours. You can find them in Gonzales on Prepara Avenue. You can also find them right here in Baton Rouge on Perkins in between Segan and Bluebonnet. Find them online, johnsonspillers.com, johnsonspillers.com. They're on Facebook. They're on social media. Everything that you need. General dentistry, pediatric dentistry. They even offer Botox over there at Johnson and Spillers. 2 locations serving all the people of South Louisiana. Stop in and see them if you need them in Gonzales, out in Ascension. They're on Prepara Avenue, and right here in Baton Rouge on Perkins Road in between Segan and Bluebonnet. Proud supporters and our dentist over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. Give me 45 seconds. We'll reset. We'll have Josh Pate from 247 Sports as we will talk about last weekend, preview this weekend. He's a great follow on Twitter and a must-find on YouTube. We'll tell you about him next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, presented and driven by Go Chevrolet. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Lane Kiffin, head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels, follows 2 people on Instagram now. He had opened up his IG account just a couple of weeks ago and was following one for a long time. That was Arch Manning, the quarterback down at Newman High School. He picked up another follow as he follows Matt Corral now, the Heisman Trophy leading quarterback for Ole Miss, as the Rebs have a week off before Alabama next weekend. Josh Pate over at Late Kick Josh on Twitter. He's also the host of Late Kick with Josh Pate.
Hold on. Keep going.
On YouTube is got the Ole Miss Rebels in the top 5, and I love it because through the first month of the season, the Rebs have been fantastic, both on offense and defense. One of the surprises in college football, as we said, they will play Alabama next weekend after a time off. Josh Pate is a must-follow if you're a college football fan, and he has been stopping by here on the Jordy Culotta Show over the past couple of weeks, and we always appreciate his insight and information. Good morning, Josh. How are you?
What do you think is more likely, Jordy? Do you think it is more likely that I just flat out believe in Ole Miss that much, Or am I really just stumping for that Lane Kiffin follow on Instagram? What do you really think I'm up to?
Well, if you stump hard enough, I think that he will play along. That's one thing that he has showed, that he will engage his listeners. And I know that you and Late Kick has been blowing up, because every time I turn on College Game Day, I see a sign in the background of a new follower, a new fan across the country. So Lane might be next, bro. It has to be fun watching this brand and what you're working on so hard kind of blow up across college football, because if you're paying attention, it seems like everybody's paying attention to you.
Dude, I told someone the other day, if you would have let me 10 years ago just lay out what a dream scenario professionally or personally would be, it would not look any different than what I actually get to do for a living.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's just, man, it's incredible. It's, you kind of snap and think, I'll probably wake up eventually. But then you realize, yeah, it's real life. So it's really fun to just get to do college football for a living. It's crazy. Good
for you, man. That is cool to hear. And I can tell you, as somebody who supports your product, it is fantastic. It is a must watch. You are a must follow if you're a fan of college football. So appreciate what you do. What did you learn last weekend in the swamp in seeing Florida battle Alabama the way they did down to the wire and losing by 2?
You know what was funny about that is, if you go back, and it doesn't take long to find all the Alabama losses over the last decade, normally anytime you're going into a big Bama game, you're saying, well, if they're going to get upset, maybe there's a chance they are, this player has to have a standout performance. You got to do a Joe Burrow. You got to do a Steven Garcia or a Nick Marshall. Like there are offensive players normally that just play out of their mind, and you just got to tip your cap to them, and okay, good for you, you beat Alabama. Florida didn't really have that. Florida did not have one standout performer. Emory Jones played pretty good. They had some players that played equal to or above their skis relative to what you've seen them do in the past, but they didn't have this all-world transcendent performance, some guy vaulting himself into the Heisman race. They played toe-to-toe with them, but I'll tell you why it doesn't seem that way. The reason is because the person or unit that ended up owning the day for them was their offensive line. And if you've watched Florida football recently under Dan Mullen, you've had two themes. Number one, they're really good on game day, but number two, because of recruiting, they have not been able to get their offensive line up to a standard in which they can trade punches with the best in the country. And then all of a sudden you turn on that game the other day, and not only are they trading punches, Florida's offensive line, I can't believe I'm about to say this, Florida's offensive line actually worked Alabama. Not a sentence I ever thought I'd hear come out of my mouth, but they did. And so I was impressed with it. And you can look at it one of two ways. You could either think, all right, Florida almost won. History shows us that sometimes that's as close as a team's ever going to come to doing something special, because it drains them and then they stick on that and they never keep climbing rungs of the ladder. You can either think that, or you can say, well, if they didn't have a player play out of his mind and they still almost won, maybe that just is the caliber of the team that I could come to expect every week. The point being, you never know how to value those kinds of games until you see them the next week. Like if they springboard into this week and they blow out Tennessee by 40, then I think we got something serious on our hands with Florida.
Josh Pate is joining us here. You can follow him on Twitter at LateKickJosh. What about from Bama's standpoint? What did that tell you about where they are after a month in?
I think that they have – it was kind of disappointing to see the level of play defensively from a couple of players. I also think that the consistency – Nick Saban probably said as much. I haven't listened to his postgame yet, but he probably said as much afterwards. It's just there's a level of consistency that you have to have that it's so hard to have when you're as young as they are offensively. And I'll tell you something else, though. Like, there's such a different standard that we view that team by, whereas if they were only to have been favored by a field goal and they went in there and they won by 2 points, people would pat them on the back. But because they were favored by 2 touchdowns and they win by a field goal, technically that means they're a better team, but yet people now find reasons to complain about it. It is hard to go on the road and win in college football. I was up at Penn State last week, and Auburn goes in there, and people at Auburn are complaining that they didn't do this right, they didn't do that right. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm fascinated that 19-year-old kids could even function in that environment because it was insane. And Bama took a lot of dudes that have never been on the road in any kind of stadium with any crowd, period, and they found a way to win. That's the good news. The bad news is I really don't know, when you watch what Florida's offensive line was able to do to them, how much they improved there. The difference is last year, Jordy, it didn't matter. You know, last year when you watched Ole Miss score on them, it didn't matter because they could trade with them. They could score 60. I don't know that their offense is there right now because I don't know that they have those standout receivers. Bryce Young's playing really well, but I just think they have to play a more complementary style this year. And really, at the end of the day, what it means is they're vulnerable just like everyone else out there. And it's going to be really fun for college football fans as a result.
You were at the best game this weekend. You're heading to the best game this weekend in Texas, Texas A&M and Arkansas. I hate the fact that this game is not being played on a campus. It's being played in Jerry World. This is a fascinating matchup. What do you make of this one a couple of days out?
It really is, man. It's aggravating, like you just said, that the two biggest games are in AT&T Stadium and Soldier Field in week 4 of a college football season. So, yeah, make sense of that. But I think that it's kind of like a, you know, it's I won't go as far as to use pro wrestling analogies. I'm going to wait later in the year for that. But I watch Arkansas against Texas. Okay, and I remember I did not get to watch that game live. I was at another game. And so that was one of those deals where you pull up a box score and you check it and you almost like jog your head. You think it's a typo and you're looking at what Arkansas did to them on the ground. And that gives you confidence. As you well know, if you watch your team run for half a mile on a good opponent, you think you can do it against anyone. And so all week you sit here and listen to Texas A&M. And all they want to tell you is, we are not Texas. And what they mean by that is, you're not running the ball on us like that. Maybe you'll beat us, but you ain't running the ball on us like that. Well, Arkansas looks and says, we'll probably run the ball on you all we want to. And if we don't do it quarter and a half, we will eventually do it. Come 4 quarters, you will not be able to withstand this. Well, the whole point there is, if they're right, that means they can throw the ball whenever they want to with KJ Jefferson. They don't have to throw the ball to win. If they have to throw the ball to win, that becomes a little bit different environment for them to play in. But on the other side, too, like Zach Calzada, if you've watched Texas A&M this year so far, there's no certainty in their identity right now. And that makes me very leery of them being a 5 or 5.5 point favorite here with a backup quarterback, and they're really still feeling their way, it feels like, in a lot of ways. I don't really feel like there's consistency in their identity yet. And you can say a lot of things about Arkansas. You can talk about talent level all you want to. But one thing we know for sure, and they know for sure, is what their identity is. Yeah. And, man, when you've got that and you've got that entire locker room willing to go over a cliff for that head coach, I ended up picking Arkansas. I don't do that with underdogs all that much. I ended up picking Arkansas.
I'm riding with you. I think because of the confidence that Sam Pittman has just infused into that program, and from that you have this just absolute identity of who Arkansas is, and they have a very well understanding of who they are, and they're going to take that game plan into Dallas. And I'm with you. I think that they're successful in just owning who they are, running the football, and being offensive line dominant. LSU was a rough weekend for LSU when you looked at just some transitive property stuff. Fresno State beats UCLA out west, and LSU is now going into Mississippi State this weekend. I watched Late Kick last night, and I am right there with you. This is as pivotal of a game that college football can offer up in the month of September, with momentum and feelings of fan bases and really confidence within programs. When you look at LSU and the opportunity that they have going into Starkville on Saturday. How do you like this matchup over at Davis Wade?
So I always hate talking like that because it's lazy normally. 99% of the time when people are talking like that, it's lazy and it's misinformed. I just think this is the exception to the rule because you're down there, so you know this infinitely better than I do. If they were to lose that game, and you're looking at a resume that already includes, before we flip the calendar to October, mind you, losses against UCLA and Mississippi State, knowing what you still have to come on that schedule, I don't see any other way, man. I don't see any other way. And that's the only reason that those kinds of words come out of my mouth. It's so pivotal. It's a hinge game. I call it a hinge game. And so they go in there, and what makes me uneasy is I don't have any confidence that LSU can run the ball to win. There's never been a time where I've watched LSU football that I said, I don't feel like they can run the ball worth a crap, but I still like them. I still love where they're headed.
Yeah.
And it's like if they do it, great. But at this point, if they do it, if they have a consistently dominant run game, it would surprise me. So that means they have to throw the ball to win. That's not that Max Johnson can't do it. That's not that receivers can't emerge. It's just I think we all understand how volatile that makes the potential set of outcomes that you have in front of you. I don't really think this game's about last year at all, although the lead up will make it a lot about that. I just really think it comes down to that volatility and having no clue what to expect week to week. That it would not surprise me, Jordy, if I look at that TV screen and it says 36-17 either way. That would not surprise me. What I expect is a close outcome, but I went with LSU because the alternative is not really something I'm ready to think about right now.
Josh Pate joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at LateKickJosh. Will Rogers, Mississippi State quarterback, threw it 67 times last week for over 400 yards and 3 scores versus Memphis. Where is Mike Leach? I know it was a tough loss, controversy on the field with the officiating, but coming off a loss in Memphis, where do you believe the headspace to be for Mike Leach and his program heading into SEC play?
Probably wounded animal mode, probably convincing themselves they're backed into a corner. And I'll tell you, if you think about that game last year and you think about all those passes and you also, think about the complete unwillingness by Bo Pelini to make anything in the way of adjustment whatsoever, I don't know that this year's game looks like that. I don't even know that the approach may look like that. But what I think they'll still be able to have some success doing is scheming guys open. It won't be straight one-on-one, let's just go win a matchup out here and let's just chuck it deep 100 times. I don't think it'll be that. What I do think it'll be is really testing Durante Jones and testing that secondary's ability to stay disciplined, to respect zone, because I think they'll play a lot more of it, and to make tackles, by the way, prevent yards after catch. That's what Mississippi State will force LSU to do. And I guarantee you what they're doing is they're looking at that game film so far this year, and they're saying, we don't think they're disciplined enough to prevent this for 4 quarters. Like, we don't think we have to bomb away on them. What we'll do is we'll scheme guys open. We'll be smart. We will not trust their eye discipline. We will not trust their fundamentals. This is the stuff you don't want said about your program, by the way. Yeah. And that's how we'll end up winning. Like, we'll trust that process. And I don't think it's the worst strategy in the world given what we've seen so far. But, see, the good news is you're only at the quarter pole of the season, so that kind of test is something that in the past we've seen be a turning point for teams. Like, that's the opportunity LSU has.
We started the conversation talking about Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. I mentioned that in your power rankings after week 4, you've got them as a top 5 team in the country, and it's very hard to argue that. They're off this weekend before they face Alabama. Under his direction right now, obviously you think very highly of them. What makes you believe that?
Well, I don't know how people argue it, to be honest with you. Like, I don't even think this is controversial. I got a lot of people that say, "Oh, Miss, what are you talking about?" And I'm asking, what are you arguing about? Here's how simple it is, Jordy. There aren't 5 other teams I'd pick against them on a neutral field tomorrow. And so that's why I put them number 5. Like, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to look at them. And it's really easy to run your mouth about Ole Miss when you don't have to play them. Mm-hmm. If you got a Notre Dame person out there, I don't know, pick them. Like Oklahoma. Oklahoma folks can run their mouth all they want to. Do you think there'd be any confidence with them stepping on a neutral field tomorrow? I don't care. Play to Norman. Do you think there would be any confidence with them stepping on the field with Ole Miss tomorrow? Because I don't. Like, I look at Ole Miss, and it's kind of like Arkansas. It's a different style of play, but they know exactly what they are. They know exactly who they are. And keep in mind, as you run your radar beam across the landscape of college football this year, how many elite quarterbacks do you see? This is not 2019. This is not 2020. We have a shortage of it in college football this year. And you got a bona fide quarterback that rightfully has already inserted his name into Heisman talk in Matt Corral at Ole Miss. You know who the head coach there is. You know they're going to score. The defense is improved relative to last year. It's hard not to believe in them.
Enjoy Dallas this weekend. I got one more for you. Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State. don't feel as though they're throwing as powerful as a punch as they have in recent past. What do you make of that, and what do you make of the power structure at the top of college football this season?
So here's what I think is going to happen. Because of what we just talked about with quarterback, that makes you a little bit more vulnerable. And what's happening is those are three programs, if you think about the last few years, well, they have relied on that. And that's like going to the mound in the first inning and realizing, I don't have my fastball today. Now, if you're a good pitcher, you can still make adjustments. You can labor through, 5 1/3 and ended up still putting your team in position to win, but you got to do it a different way. That's what they're figuring out right now. They're figuring out how to win without a fastball that they've always been able to rely on. And so here's what's going to happen. You know as well as I do, at least one of the teams you just mentioned is going to end up getting hot. That's just the way it works. It's going to happen a little bit later in the year. You're going to say, dude, remember when they looked for all the world like they were dead in the water week 1 or 2? I don't know who it's going to be, but I also don't think it stops there. Like the North Carolinas of the world, because there is no truly elite team out there right now, this is a ripe environment for 1 or 2 teams that you've left already over in the ditch to get themselves up, get back on the road, and be a playoff contender down the road. That's what's going to be so fun, because this is not a year with elite teams, which means this is not a year to just discount someone because they have a loss on their resume.
Josh Pate, a must-follow if you're a college football fan out there. At Late Kick Josh is where you can hit him on social media, on Twitter. The YouTube station is out there as well. The program is called the Late Kick with Josh Pate. Make sure and find it. It comes on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 7 o'clock Central Time. And you can catch him here, which has been regular over the past couple of weeks on the Jordy Culotta Show. We appreciate that greatly, man. We'll talk again soon.
Anytime, my friend.
See you. There is Josh Pate checking in this morning, talking about the latest with college football, just from his point of view. Remember that conversation in Daily. We are brought to you by GoFlow IV and Hydration, Baton Rouge's premier medical spa specializing in IV hydration treatments with vitamin infusion. You can find them here on Jefferson Highway, right in the Baton Rouge area. You can ask them about their memberships. They offer great memberships and great services over there, 3-month, 6-month annual membership packages, which include everything to help you improving whether you're suffering from dehydration, chronic illness, if you're looking for some beauty, skin, and hair upgrades or to help you with that, GoFlow can help you in that department as well. Or if you're just looking for a hangover cure, go check out GoFlow IV, GoFlowIV.com. We got to get him out to the Auburn game.
Yes.
If we can pull that
They
off.
need to get
in a
out to
couple
the
of
parade
weeks.
grounds.
Yeah,
He's a lucky soul.
Clean up.
that's exactly what the parade grounds needs.
Right.
Just put medic. Just get the medic.
Exactly.
Get the lipstick out. Start writing M's on people's
They can
faces.
clean up out there.
You did your best, son.
Is that a needle?
Go back to the fraternity.
Hey, you guys were talking about Arkansas, Joey. There's one time in the summer we were doing a schedule preview, and you went on like a 25-minute rant about Arkansas. And me and Lloyd
Damn,
both looked
25
at it.
minutes.
It seemed like me and Lloyd looked at each other like, oh my God. But you were right on. Like, they're a sleeping giant.
They are. You know why? And it was just because of what Josh Pate said, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. When you watch them play under Sam Pittman, they are very secure in who they are. They are very. They have an identity,
That's the best way to put it.
and they own that, right? I mean, that's who they are. They own that space. He's an offensive line guy. Now, I know that they're banged up front this week. I think that they may be without their starting center. Or
Is he making the calls?
Or starting center may be questionable going into this game. And you know, in my opinion, the center might be the second most important position on the field behind the quarterback. I mean, that is somebody that you have got to make sure knows what's going on, and you love some experience in that spot if you could get it.
Is Sam Pittman not a should we be this high on him? Is this not a cautionary tale we've seen before? Whenever somebody's uber reliant on the run game, an offensive line coach, and comes in, that's his expertise. That sounds very much like Les Miles, and it's it seems like, okay, this is your identity in an age where this identity doesn't really play anymore. Like, I know it's working now.
It does when you follow the model. When you are who you are, like we know who Sam Pittman is. Sam Pittman is a fantastic offensive line coach and has a reputation of being a dominant recruiter. His resume also said that he's a great developer of players. I mean, his list and resume of guys that he's developed along the way are very impressive. Arkansas native, he comes back home, he gets the gig, he's very prideful to be there. He understands his expertise is offensive line play and recruiting. I can dig that lane and I can run as fast as I can down that lane without being distracted, right? But I got to make sure, from Sam Pittman's point of view, that I got two guys alongside me that can run each side of the ball, or I can trust that they know what they're doing. And he went out and hired Dave Odom. He went and hired Odom from Missouri, the former Missouri head coach, defensive coordinator, which was probably the best defensive coordinator hire last season in college football. I mean, he's been incredible in watching his unit play up at Arkansas. And then Kendall Briles is his play caller on offense, which, look, I mean, I'm not here to debate what's going on. As a play caller and as an offensive mind, Kendall Briles is elite. And that is the model that functions or succeeds when you have somebody in place that doesn't have an expertise on either side of the ball. A lot like LSU. And look at LSU's success under this model. The model has succeeded when the coordinators were really figured out alongside Ed Orgeron. And the struggles have been in places where you had some guys that you didn't trust, they didn't get along with, they weren't on the same page, and you really couldn't hand over the keys to each side of the ball and say, you run this. I have, from Orgeron's standpoint, I guess it would just be defensive line and recruiting.
Right, Sam Pittman is just the opposite.
Yeah,
Sam
it's just
Pittman's
the
just
opposite.
offensive line and recruiting. But if you're an Arkansas fan, or if you're Sam Pittman, like, I've read this book before because I've read it with Coach O.
Yeah.
You say you have to get the hires right, but it's how often you have to get the hires right also. Because if you don't think Briles or the defensive coordinator is going to get looks at other jobs, and
Barry
maybe
Odom's
not
getting
next
looks.
year,
It's
but the
amazing
next
that Barry
year.
Odom's still there.
He's getting
Yeah,
looks.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be a head
He'll be there
coach.
next year.
He'll be a head coach.
And then
this
you
year.
have to replace them again. So, like, the model, it's sustainable, but it's not. It's hit or miss. Like, you have to expect some up years with the down years. Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to be. I don't know if it's sustainable like that.
All honeymoon phase.
Right. You can love Sam Pittman all you want, but when it gets down to, I need a football coach. Like, that's why everybody wants Lane Kiffin at this point, because look at what he can do on offense wherever he goes. Like, you talk about having an identity. That's an identity.
What's LSU's identity? Run
We
pass
don't have
option,
one.
get the ball out of your hands
LSU
quick.
does not have an identity.
LSU right now is searching for an identity. I mean,
Starts with
really
running
and
the
truly.
ball.
Yeah, which
They
they
can't
can't
do
do.
it.
I mean, they haven't run for 100 yet.
I mean,
They hadn't run
it's
for
been
100
2 years.
yards
It's been 2
yet.
years. I'm joyous when we get second level on a run. I'm like, I haven't seen that in 3 weeks.
And the
You're good for
effort
one
they have to
second
put
level
in
run.
to get to the second level. Like, it's just not there yet.
No, they just don't have the
They
the
have the
horses up
guys.
front, man. I mean, in the SEC, you cannot hide if you don't have line play. I mean, if you cannot have some type of control on the line of scrimmage, you are going to get abused. You're going to get exposed. You're going to get manhandled out there. And LSU has been pushed around against an FCS opponent, a Pac-12 opponent, and Central Michigan last week wasn't impressive, by any means.
Did what you had to do.
But didn't they have, 2 rushing yards at half? Like, if it's not for Corey Kiner kind of getting loose, and I think that was more Central Michigan was just gassed.
Yeah.
So, like, that's when the run game can come, and that's how people run the football, is you wear the team down, essentially. But having only 2 yards rushing at half, like, that's not, you can't win that way. Like, you'd probably beat Mississippi State because
Maybe.
But when it gets into the Auburns and the Floridas and, I mean, the Bamas.
You're cutting 50% of your playbook out.
Right. You can throw it 60 times?
Do it. If I'm a defensive coordinator, all right.
Behind that offensive line, I'm begging you to do that.
Yeah.
I'm begging you to do that if I'm a defensive
It's easier
coordinator.
to run block.
I mean, really and truly. I mean, if I could just pin my ears back and go get a quarterback who's now started 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the formula, right? I mean, you got to be able to take some pressure off of the play caller, off of the player, off of the quarterback, and be able to get some. I mean, it was the Saints last weekend. You know what I mean? I mean,
Get Kamara
if you
going.
can't get Alvin Kamara going for the New Orleans Saints offense, it's going to be a long day.
But then you look at Sam Darnold, you get Christian McCaffrey going, and
Exactly.
Sam Darnold's not good.
Exactly.
But when you have someone like that who can catch the ball and just pin the defense back, it changes the game.
All right, we will get back to football. One thing that has been super impressive over the past couple of months down here in South Louisiana is the work that Jay Johnson has put in for the LSU baseball team behind the scenes. He has not been out front. You have not heard a lot from him, but if you're paying attention, Brandon Hollingsworth just said it, and I think he said, I mean, it's true. The dude picks up a commitment a day. I mean, he's nearly picking up a commitment a day in this baseball program. And by all accounts, I mean, what was the publication that came out with the top 100 college baseball prospects? LSU's got 3 in that mix, including the number 1 player in Jacob Berry, the guy that Jay Johnson brought over with him from the University of Arizona, a switch hitter who batted .387 for Team USA over the summer. I've talked to some people around the LSU baseball program, and they are like, bro, I mean, it is tough to get people around that program to get their eyeballs to open up. I mean, think about the guys that they have seen come through that place just over the last decade, right? I mean, whether it's Nola, Galsman, Bregman, I mean, the names are just almost embarrassing to rattle off the players that they've had. And some of the guys that I talked to around that program that have been there during that time are like, this guy, Jacob Berry, bro, is freakish. I mean, the sound of the ball coming off of his bat is different, right? I mean, like, he's one of those players that you don't even have to see who's in the cage to understand that that's Jacob Berry getting his reps. And I mean, yeah, I mean, like, we're not even talking about a guy like Dylan Cruz who's expected to have a just sophomore explosion in his second year.
Especially when you add somebody like Berry to the lineup to kind of protect him. That's when baseball gets nasty.
It's like, who do you want to pitch to?
Right, you have to pick your poison, and if it's Cruz, I mean, I wouldn't pitch to him. I haven't seen Berry play for LSU yet, but it sounds like you don't want to pitch to him either.
Yeah.
And if they're going to trot those two guys out back-to-back and get that lineup right around him. K. Doty was on that list.
Yeah, number 19.
Yes.
He's a top 20 player.
It's unbelievable.
Jay Johnson next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Imagine your lineup being...
Hebert's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. abearsmarkets.com. GoFlow IV and Spa, 7970 Jefferson Highway is where you can find them, or you can simply go online to goflowiv.com. GoFlow IV Spa is a medical spa that specializes in IV hydration with vitamin infusion. At GoFlow IV Spa, they can help you with a wide range of issues, from skin care to illness recovery, athletic performance, hangover cure, chronic illness, and even chronic dehydration. GoFlowIV.com or stop in and see them, 7970 Jefferson Highway. We're talking about LSU's struggles to run the football. I wonder if they know that their baseball coach averaged 9.5 yards per carry his senior year.
Get him out there.
I mean, for God's sakes, just go see if you get a couple of reps from Jay Johnson, the LSU head baseball. Odds are you can't, because the guy's been working since he landed here in Baton Rouge. If you're paying attention to the baseball program, it seems like they're picking up a commitment a day. I mean, the social media is fantastic to keep up with what's happening behind the scenes. The stories that are coming out of the baseball program is that the excitement level is bubbling over here going into fall camp, whether it's recruiting, the offseason, or just the vision that Jay Johnson has brought down here in just the short time that he's been in Baton Rouge. It's our pleasure to welcome him back to the program and into the conversation here on this Wednesday morning. Coach, good morning. How are you?
Jordy, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Good to have you back. How do you use LSU football as a recruiting advantage for the baseball program? We've seen a lot of coaches come through here and use a Saturday night in Death Valley to get commitments. Obviously, you've been very successful on the trail up to this point, but now that you had a chance to see the football stadium with some people in it, and hopefully 2 weeks from now it'll be full capacity under the lights, how do you use that advantage LSU baseball?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Two things. I've always viewed LSU as, one of maybe 6 to 8 programs that has a chance to legitimately win the national championship every year. I mean, the previous coaches and Coach O have done a great job in building it up to that point. And then when you watch an LSU football game on TV, it looks like the coolest place to be. And then now having taken some recruits in for 2 games and seeing the energy of the fans, and especially with 2 wins, it's a great environment, and we're going to be bringing more in for Auburn and Florida, so we want them to keep it rolling.
The recruiting success, if you're just following on social media, it's been fun to keep up with, but obviously it is a relentless, tireless piece of the program that you have to keep up with. What has it been like recruiting with LSU on the hat now?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's what you would hoped it would be. It's very competitive, obviously. I mentioned the amount of programs that can win a national championship in football. It's probably a little bit bigger in baseball, probably because of the nature of the game. And with that, those battles are won a lot of times long before they're fought, on the phone, out on the recruiting trail, on campus visits. And we're just trying to do a good job of putting the right team together, give us depth, give us frontline talent, give us a balanced team. And that's a day in, day out process, which you're working towards for years in advance. I mean, there might have been a player, the last couple of weeks that has made a decision for LSU that might not impact our team till 25 or 26. But if they continue to improve and continue to develop, that's good for them. And that's obviously good for our program. And it just takes what it takes, which is a lot of work, a lot of relationship building. And our staff's doing a good job with that right now.
What has it been like to have your guys back on campus? It's been a minute now, but just from catching up with you, it was fun to see some of the social media. You were filming, I believe, in the weight room one morning on one of the first days back, and there was just a lot of people, a lot of action happening over there. What's it been like to just have all of the workouts and everybody kind of underneath the LSU baseball program facility in their preparation now?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm one of those coaches that believes in the value of every day and value of every piece of the program to develop the player and ultimately develop the team. And guys are working hard. We're in the weight room 4 days a week. We haven't gotten full reins on fall baseball yet. We've been having them for about an hour a day, 4 times a week, and doing what we can do and laying some fundamental foundations for where we're headed. But really excited, to get into team practice as we turn the corner in October and really get to work on this thing relative to putting in our system, relative to seeing our personnel and building a good foundation for where we want to head as we head into 2022.
Yeah, Coach, what is the emphasis on the timetable, on the schedule, like right now of the college baseball season? What's your emphasis as a head coach of a player within the sport that has expectation to be a national contender? What's the emphasis on right now?
Yeah, a lot of it right now is individual development, and that happens in the weight room relative to doing things in there that are going to translate into, bat speed, arm speed, and running speed on the field. It's kind of our, spring football time, if you will. And then on the individual or on the field side of it, it's all individual development. We're trying to give guys good swing foundations offensively so they can start to understand where they maybe need to make adjustments and putting in our base system. From a hitting standpoint, from an infield defense standpoint, we've been getting the pitchers' arms ready to roll. They're actually going to get on the mound for the first time and throw some bullpens this week, end of this week, and get them on the mound a couple times before we start scrimmaging that second weekend in October.
One of the guys that people are excited about is Eric Reiselman, a righty that transferred into the program in the offseason. He's on the top 100 college prospects for the 22 MLB draft, along with a couple other players we'll get to. But it seems like he had a really good offseason. What's the expectation for a new face that Tiger fans will be seeing in the spring?
Yeah, I think very happy for Eric. It's actually a really good story of perseverance. You know, wasn't maybe a high-profile guy out of high school, then had Tommy John surgery, and then honestly came back a little too quick from the Tommy John surgery, had a few setbacks, but got some good development in the early part of the summer, got an opportunity to go to the Cape Cod League, and completely came out as a completely different pitcher. I mean, he's running his fastball up to 97 miles an hour, can really locate it at the bottom of the zone and both sides of the plate, really good slider. And so I think he has the ability to help us in a key role, but I think there's going to be some good competition on the mound, and might not have that returning name as like a ace or that type of thing, but I think we're going to be able to have a lot of guys make a positive contribution and shorten games by the amount of pitchers we use, actually, and might be a little bit old school Tampa Bay Rays thing until we figure it out, but nice. I definitely think Eric can be a piece of that.
The number one player on that list, Coach, and Coach Jay Johnson, LSU head baseball coach, joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show here on this Wednesday morning, getting prepared for fall ball as the Tigers are looking forward to the first season under Coach Johnson. And Jacob Berry is a name that everybody is excited about, Coach. You bring him over from Arizona. He's an All-American over there with you in the Wildcats, and here in the offseason, he's named the number one player on that prospect list. He bats over 380 with Team USA this summer. I mean, people are kind of they can't wait to see him. What should we expect?
Yeah, he's a really complete hitter, and it's from both sides of the plate. I mean, he is one of the best switch hitters I've ever seen in terms of being balanced, as far as he's equally good right-handed as he is left-handed. It's a very simple swing that creates a lot of bat speed, really good power, has great knowledge of the strike zone, walked a ton, during the season last year as well, puts the ball in play with runners on base, hits the ball over the fence, a great two-strike hitter. So he's just really complete, and it's a really nice piece to add to this lineup. And I think you'll see a very mature player, really has made some improvements defensively throughout the summer, and really has a desire to be good. I mean, he's one of the first guys here every single day working on his own. And so I think not only will he make a positive impact in terms of his statistics and contribution, but already starting to make a good impact as a teammate and setting a foundation for the type of work ethic we want to have here.
We recently had Will Wade on, and he's kind of done the same thing you've done, added a lot of pieces through the transfer portal, so he's had a big emphasis on chemistry. I'm wondering if you've done anything, you're a fresh face as well, and to bring a lot of new players into the LSU building. How have you done anything yet to develop that chemistry with everybody, or do you just think baseball guys are baseball guys and they'll figure it out?
No, it's a great question, and it's something that I don't take lightly. We actually had a discussion about it the other day. It's kind of the phase we're in right now, though, is very individualized as far as development. A lot of that will start to take place as we get into team practice, which will start officially on October 8th, around each other. Everybody's out there at the same time. And then that has to be done by design. And there's a couple things that you need to have that happen. You need to have some common experience, both successful and unsuccessful, where you have to get through adversity. We have to be able to put them in situations where that chemistry can be exposed, at how much it's important and needed for a winning team and a winning program and winning organization. And those things are coming. We're not quite to that phase yet. And I'm really looking forward to that. I do think we've started in a really positive direction in that, kind of naturally with player buy-in. And I can't tell you how important that is. These guys are eager to learn, eager to develop, eager to win. And all those things are a good start when you get guys off to a good start with a common goal and kind of moving in the same direction. And we'll facilitate some things to drive that further, because that's a really, really important part of winning.
How about South Louisiana? Does it feel like home yet?
Absolutely, yes. We're a hurricane. We got our first hurricane right under our belt. And, I love the community. I love the passion for LSU and our program. And really want to thank the town and really the state for a great welcome. And we're working hard every day to make them proud. But definitely look forward to being at LSU for a long time and making this our home.
Coach, a lot was made of you bringing the whiteboards into your office, and that kind of being the only thing you have. How many dry erase markers have we gone through here? Are we filling up the trash can?
Yeah, it's funny. I still got to get it installed, so I'm actually walking over. I walked over to Coach Kelly's office yesterday because he's got a nice one. I think I gotta see what's going on and see if I can get mine up there. But I started drawing, and next thing I knew, I'd made a mess of his. So I think he's going to be ordering me one here pretty soon.
Keep up the hard work, man. It has been fun to watch you guys working just kind of from a social media vantage point and see all the fun and all the success that you guys are having on the recruiting trail and the buzz that you're building within the community of everybody looking forward to getting back in the box in the winter and into the spring. Thank you for your time this morning, Coach.
All right, guys. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes, sir. There is Jay Johnson checking in from LSU baseball this morning. Dude's
legit.
He's legit.
Architect.
Heard people close to the program that have been around for a while that have say that he feels like the Nick Saban of college football, of college baseball, just kind of attention to detail. I think I told you guys, or all of us, the story of he was talking to Will Wade, and he said that he told his wife that he needs no new clothes. All he's going to wear is the baseball gear. She's in charge of buying the house. Just make sure it's within 3 miles of the facility so he can get to and from the office very quick.
Was he live on River Road?
So I'm thinking River Bend.
Yeah.
Probably.
And somebody's ear in there, too.
Yeah, Skips in
right
there.
there.
Skips right there. He's got a whiteboard in his home for recruiting that he keeps up with. And he's just a junkie. He's just a baseball junkie. He eats, sleeps, breathes recruiting, player development, on the field development, everything that goes into making a championship program. The people that are close to him says, this is the exact right guy at the exact right time that LSU baseball was yearning for. And if you were paying attention to recruiting, I believe it was Hollingsworth who said it earlier, that, I mean, it feels like he picks up a commitment in a day. I mean, it really does feel like he is out there just tirelessly shopping and selling this thing.
Well, he's recruiting like it's a football team.
Yeah.
But they don't have that many roster spots, so that thing's about
Which
to
has got to be scary.
It's about to get real competitive out there.
It's about to get real awkward.
That's why I said we haven't really worked on the chemistry thing yet, because some of these cats probably will be around for a second. So
remember last season when we were scared to death about like the atmosphere at the box and like trying to come up with ways to like make the box better again, all those things we were coming up with. Now I don't think we need to.
No,
he's on that.
I think he's going to do. I mean, this is going to do it,
naturally,
right?
He's one of those guys that, to me, his kind of charisma is almost kind of infectious. But when you watch his team play, if you're not there, it's going to feel like I need to be there. I want to be there because it's going to create buzz. People that are going to be showing up. It's going to be a cool environment. It's going to be an exciting way of watching baseball. I mean, the stuff that we're hearing on Jacob Berry, Dylan Cruz, Cade Doty, all playing in the same lineup, Trey Morgan, all playing in the same lineup every single day at the college level. You know, like, I'm not sitting here telling you that they're going to be the one seed in Omaha. I'm just telling you they're going to be exciting as hell to watch, right? And they're going to have a lot of interest. This is almost a year one of Jay Johnson with a lineup and a squad like this. I mean, this is.
He came in ready to roll.
He came in hot, bro.
There's been no adjustment period for him. Like, we haven't seen him coach on the baseball field. But you pluck him from a program like Arizona. Yeah. We're so used to these like first year coaches or whatever. Like, whoa, when we talk defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. Jay Johnson's done it at the highest level already. Him coming here should be a seamless transition. And I like his personality because as interested and regimented and structured as he is, he still seems like he has a dude in him, like like kick back with you for a second.
And at times there's probably a lot of eye-rolling moments as an LSU head baseball coach in the first year of somebody who's an outsider, right? I mean, there's so much entitlement within that fan base. And look, I'm not saying that it's wrong because of the success that they have had, but somebody who sees it for the first time, who's never been around it, it's probably like, Jesus, these people are relentless.
This is a lot. What are we doing here?
This is about college baseball?
We haven't practiced yet. October 8th, we'll let you know.
I mean, just like, being at Phil's Oyster Bar on some Tuesday and some random being like, Omaha bus coach, in first year, like, Let me enjoy my oysters, bro.
Better win all your games.
Yeah, right, exactly. Turn the boat around.
How about that?
Daily, we're brought to you by Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. Cajun Ready Mix Ready Mix Concrete products and services to meet all of your concrete needs. Right here in the Baton Rouge area, they've got multiple amount of plants ready to go, which means that Cajun Ready Mix Concrete guarantees that all of your deliveries will be completed on time and to their exact specifications. High quality products, grade A equipment, clear safety standards, red carpet service. That's what you get when you use Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. If you're a contractor out there, you can get in touch with them online at CajunRMC.com. If you want a direct number, get in touch with Bradley Cairo over at Cajun Ready Mix. Bradley Cairo, 372-5060. 225 area code 372-5060. Doesn't matter where you are in the listening area. If you're along the I-10 corridor, Lafayette, New Orleans, Butte, Houma, I know a lot of people down in that area are looking for contractors, looking for ways to improve and get back up on their feet. If you need help with your concrete, get in touch with Cajun Ready Mix Concrete as they are ready to service you today. CajunRMC.com. CajunRMC.com. Katie's pissed off at us because we talked too much about Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss this morning.
I just don't understand.
Just make a fair point.
It is a good point. They haven't played anyone. I mean,
But the point is,
last year was
that
the same.
They haven't played anybody, and they've taken care of the games the way they should be taken care of. If you look at LSU,
have they?
Yes, they have. They have.
handily beat Louisville. They put 60 on Tulane before the fourth quarter even started.
And Tulane's good.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a game.
Yeah, I did too.
Gave Oklahoma a run.
And like we all said in here, you'll really figure it out. And my compliments is not as much on Ole Miss as it is on Lane Kiffin, right?
That bothers her more.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that Lane Kiffin has taken a program that 2 years ago was in the crapper.
Mm-hmm.
It was dead. Matt Luke had tried to bury that program, and last year taking that group of really
misfit toys,
it's an undermanned team, and going 5-5, or you went 5-5. With the bowl win, he went 5-5. Was a incredible first year to look back on and say, okay, he's building something. And then through the first 3 games of his second year, to see the way and the strides that they've made, the upgrades that they've made in recruiting on defense, they've gotten significantly better, at least in personnel on defense. Because I'm with you, they haven't played anybody that can really test that. Mm-hmm. But one compliment towards that, in my opinion, is that the teams that you are significantly better than, you should come out and dominate. And that's what Ole Miss has done through the first 3 weeks of the season. You can't really give me any judge or any feedback on who they are, how good are they. I don't know how good they are, but I know this, that they're a lot better on paper than the first 3 teams of the season that they were supposed to play, and they beat the hell out of them like you thought they would. And that's tough to do. LSU was significantly better than McNeese.
They let Louisville put 24 points on the board.
They're not good defensively. The upgrades that they've made defensively, holding them 24 points, is that's a huge win for Ole Miss.
Bama game
for Ole Miss.
Kicked it offsides every time.
And to me, that's Lane Kiffin recognizing, guys, if we don't improve defensively drastically, then we can't compete at the national level next season. And for them to be competitive, or a contender, or a player in year 2 under Kiffin after the roster that he took over, in my opinion, is a clear sign of his genius of who he is as a college football coach, or as a football coach. Not just a college coach, just as a football coach. Lane Kiffin, in my opinion, is a genius. And if LSU's job was open, if it opens, if it's vacant at any point, if I was leading the search, which thank God for all of you, I'm not. But my first call would be to Jimmy Sexton about Lane Kiffin. Mm-hmm. And I would say, get him. What do you have to do? What does LSU have to do to get Kiffin? Because if you take Kiffin away from Ole Miss, first off, you cut the legs out from one of your rivals or from one of your SEC Western Division opponents, somebody you play every single year.
It is our number 1 rival.
Mississippi State?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss? Are you talking about LSU or
No,
Mississippi
I'm talking
State?
about Mississippi State.
I'm talking about.
I thought you were addressing me.
I'm talking about from an
still
LSU
the Ole
standpoint.
Miss
I'm just
I thought
giving
this
my
whole
point.
rant was
I'm just giving
like-
my point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand it from the. I don't understand it from the Mississippi State point of view, but I get the passion that you have
You're right.
and hate for Ole Miss.
Right.
I like Ole Miss.
But even without the hate for Ole Miss, I still don't understand all the hype. Just saying.
It's because their defense.
I'm not the only
points.
one that
Yeah.
feels that way.
They're going to
clearly.
score a ton of points. Their defense looks.
Yeah, but you're in the
appreciably
minority.
better.
I
Yeah.
don't think I'm in the minority.
I mean, look at people like Josh Pate, who speaks about. He watches more college football
I get
than
it,
we.
yeah.
All four of us
than all four
combined.
of us combined.
I believe
he's
that.
talking to people that are connected within that sport. He is, I mean, he's a college football expert from covering the sport,
Of course.
and look what he's telling
You'll
you.
see
Yeah.
next week when you play Bama. Bama's
You know?
the ultimate measuring stick.
It is, and you'll find out next week.
What do you think that
We
spread
will.
will be?
Where is it?
I'm just slamming the over. That's
It's
all
in
I'm doing.
Tuscaloosa because last year was in Oxford. So I would say
What they're going to set that up?
12 to 14.
300 probably.
You think it'll be that high?
Yeah. 12,
10. 10 and a half.
10
Ole
to
Miss
12.
getting 10.
Yeah, just because of what Florida just did. You saw Dan Mullen. I'm sure Lane Kiffin watched that game intently, and Dan Mullen put up a hell of a game plan to get to keep that thing close.
come back.
Yeah.
And so Lane Kiffin gives himself a week to prepare for Alabama, and Nick Saban knows him. He knows Nick Saban. And if there's ever been a coach to get under Saban's skin, it's been Kiffin. And so he's going to have something up for him. That's a little rivalry they have. Like, I know that he
sure.
was probably the first.
The sober
and so
card.
I'm sure Lane Kiffin has a little something for old Nick.
Well, Saban has the ultimate job security. He's got the ultimate security within the sport from just knowing who he is, the stature of what he brings. He's very secure. That's why he can bring in 2 former NFL head coaches and put them on the staff. I mean, his offensive line coach is Doug Marrone. I mean, the guy was
AFC
he's a head coach.
championship.
He's a head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC Championship 4 years ago.
Up 21 on the Patriots.
But Lane Kiffin, in my opinion, would be the guy that Saban probably knows deep down. I mean, Saban put up a brick wall for Lane Kiffin to join Ed Orgeron's staff in 2016. Like, that's why that happened. Lane Kiffin called Joe Oliva and told him, confirmed to him, if you give Ed Orgeron this job, I am coming to Baton Rouge as the offensive coordinator. I'm going to be there. Nick Saban catches wind of that and calls Jimmy Sexton and says, he ain't going to Baton Rouge. Like,
Really?
so
He had that much control over that decision?
100%.
That's crazy.
He's the SEC
100%.
I
commissioner.
know, but that's crazy.
Puppet master.
He's
sure.
absolutely did. And, because he knew that if Kiffin gets to Baton Rouge, he could expose us. He knows how to beat us.
Those wide receivers.
He knows what the formula is, and he's a genius. He is a genius. I mean, people that were around that situation will tell you the respect that Saban had for Kiffin as a football coach. Now, he had to babysit him off the field, and there was a lot of BS that he had to put up with. I mean, this was Kiffin at his
Peak.
bro. He was like peak Kiffin, like freshly divorced, like down there, like cutting up, bro.
Running around.
Yes.
Boca Raton.
I mean, like,
Peak F-boy.
yes. Yes.
He knows a guy.
Also the best play caller in the sport. You know what I mean? So you're kind of in a conundrum, you know what I mean? Like,
You can be both.
Lane, you can't bang the booster's wives, bro. You can't bang the booster's wives. But I do love the way that you're developing Tua.
Yeah.
You are doing a great job with Tua, bro. You know what I mean?
She came on to me after I hit 50. What do you want
to do, Nick? What do you want me to do? She knocked on my door, man.
He came to me. I thought it was Tosh.
I must have triggered something with that F-boy comment
Yeah,
in the bunker.
you did. I think you hit the code
Hi,
word.
girls and boys video chat, everybody.
I think you hit the code word.
Oh my God.
Right? I think I did.
Ding, ding, ding.
YouTube is definitely
I'm
listening.
gonna remove these.
Sorry.
You wouldn't be afraid of Kiffin's antics if he came here?
Dude, Kiffin's antics are over.
He's calmed down.
Kiffin's
from all that.
antics were to get back to the SEC as a head coach. All that stuff he was doing down in Boca, all that stuff that he wasn't turning down national interviews, he was going anywhere all that stuff was to get back to an SEC job. He is here now. Even when he was at Tennessee, when he was young and poking Urban Meyer, mean, that stuff was really to get a rise and to create controversy within that. I mean, he knew what he was doing.
He's
all
such
that
a
stuff,
shitster.
to me, he's past. He knows he doesn't have to. If he's at Ole Miss or if he's at LSU, you don't have to poke the bear. You are the bear. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to draw attention to yourself. And I think that those days of what we were just alluding to, I don't know, but they're definitely not as public as they once were.
That doesn't fly in Mississippi.
Well, it doesn't.
So
it doesn't fly as the head coach.
No.
It doesn't fly as the head coach anywhere.
Right.
Right.
But
I mean,
especially
it doesn't
there.
fly in the SEC, and especially what Ole Miss was dealing with Hugh
Yeah.
Freeze. You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna have some type of meltdown publicly over something off the field with the head football coach dealing with something even close to what Hugh Freeze had going on. And it was a gamble, I'm sure, with Kiffin, but I got to imagine those conversations behind closed doors were had, and Kiffin probably sells his point of
Talks
done some things I'm not proud of, but I mean,
It's very public.
yes,
You don't have to
that's
look
it.
far.
it's over. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I'm back
good.
here. I'm back in the Southeastern Conference. I'm back making millions a year to coach the best athletes in the country. I mean, that's where he wants to be. And I think he even looks, I mean, there was a lot of rumor last year and a lot of smoke last year that he was kind of hunting that Auburn job. Like, or at least he was trying to get in
Imagine
front
that.
of the people over there. I got to imagine if this LSU job opens up, he sees that he can win the national championship more consistently here. I'm not going to say he can't do it at Ole Miss, but it would be very much more difficult to win it at Ole Miss than to do it at LSU. LSU has the blueprint
He's got
from
the Ferrari.
3 head coaches on how to do this thing. And within 3 years, they've all done it of accepting the job. Took Saban 3 years, took Miles 3 years, took 3 years.
So one recruiting class.
One recruiting class. Exactly.
And he's proven he can do that.
Well, not one recruiting class, but one
Cycle.
recruiting cycle.
Oh, yeah.
And he's proven he can recruit. So
That's not going to happen at Ole Miss, though.
What?
He's not going to have them win a national championship.
Katie.
Ole Miss, look,
It-
Ole
it-
Miss is always
Katie,
Ole Miss.
this-
It's not
She's
LSU.
gonna be-
This
she's gonna
year,
belt.
Wait,
this year
isn't anything
in
about
college
it.
football, there's no Clemson at the top. There's no
They'll be
Ohio
back.
State at the top. Alabama's there. He plays them in 2 weeks. But if his offense can't be stopped, which he's trying to win Matt Corral the Heisman so he can put that on his resume and he can walk into Arch Manning's living room and say, you want the Heisman? I can win the Heisman with a guy that wasn't even a quarterback when I got there. You're the best quarterback in the world. You might win it 3 times if you come to Oxford.
Imagine.
Ole Miss is never going to be LSU, though. They're never going to be close to LSU.
They're never going to
Ole
be.
Miss.
They're never going to be LSU, but they can beat. I mean, what do you mean close to LSU?
It starts with a quarterback. Look how Clemson
They're
became
gonna.
Clemson. Once
They
you
can
get the
beat
quarterback.
LSU,
They can beat LSU.
So, I
they
mean-
have beaten LSU. I'm
right?
not
But I
saying
mean,
that.
they can compete with LSU in the sense of if they have the right guy, if they have the right leader, then they have the athletes within that state that if it's recruited correctly, that you
But
really
it's hard to do.
No, it
We
is
have
ve-
two
it's very
SEC
difficult.
schools in that state. I'm not saying Mississippi State is anywhere close to that either. They're the same team as Ole Miss every year. It's just like head to head. I mean, it's never going to be different. They're never going to be an Alabama or an LSU. They're never
I
going to
don't
be
know.
close
Once
to
you
that.
get a
It's just not
quarterback.
possible. It's easy to be that way when you're the only SEC school in your state and you're LSU.
But if you-
It's not so easy there. I mean, we're half the size of LSU, both schools.
Yeah, but
Well,
he's
if they
recruiting
let you-
It's just
nationally.
different. I know that.
He's re-
Everyone
he's-
does,
he's
but
not-
it's just different.
He's recruiting at a more national pace than Mike Leach is. Mike
Right.
Leach is recruiting regionally.
Yeah.
Which he's having success. Lane Kiffin can go into every Mike Leach can't get past the third filter of the Mannings.
Mm-hmm.
Lane Kiffin is sitting at their dinner table. And Lane Kiffin's sitting at their dinner table if he's Ole Miss's head coach or if he's LSU's head coach.
Mm-hmm.
He might even be sitting there if he's Florida International's head coach.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying his cachet, his brains, his charisma, his knowledge of the sport, it sells today. And if he's your head coach, I think you've got a chance. Now, I don't think that he has as much of a chance, and it's going to be much more difficult to do it from Oxford, but I'm not counting him out. I'm not counting him out. I mean, look at the players that he's getting. He's always going to have a quarterback. That is my argument on Lane. Why do you want Lane Kiffin? I want Lane Kiffin because it doesn't matter who he's here with or however long he's here, you'll always have a quarterback.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if it's
true.
Blake Sims, the running back, or if it doesn't matter if it's Matt Corral, the Heisman Trophy leader. You're always going to have somebody that can handle that spot. And it doesn't matter if you're on a flag football team at Traction with kindergartners or if you're the New Orleans Saints with Sean Payton and Jameis Winston. If you don't have a quarterback, you ain't got a shot. And with Lane Kiffin, you always have a quarterback. Always.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really would be my top line sales point on Kiffin, the football coach. Do you always want to be functional? Do you always want to be relevant offensively with your squad, with your program? Then hire Lane Kiffin. Because overnight, you'll become an offensive powerhouse. Powerhouse.
That's what he does. I mean, look at what Matt Corral. Like, does anybody think Matt Corral is going to be a successful NFL quarterback? I think that's 100% tied to what Lane Kiffin does in his scheme, and he just does what Matt Corral does well. He's accentuated those traits to 1,000%. And Lane Kiffin knows how to call plays, knows how to run a game, and that's what he's doing with Matt Corral. Like you said, all of this is just a resume builder. Like, I agree with you. I don't know if Ole Miss could ever be a perennial power in the SEC West, but I've seen crazier things.
Well, look at Dan Mullen and Dak Prescott, and we didn't make it. I mean, we were number one in the country for the first time, and I don't know. And I mean, we stayed there for several weeks, but I mean, even with that duo, we weren't close.
Right, and it's not even that you weren't close; it's that he's going to leave. Like Dan
Yeah,
Mullen is still not.
absolutely.
You know, that it's those jobs are as it's
boards.
currently constructed is a
Yeah.
launch point to get to another job,
Yes.
and LSU is seen as a better job.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure the national spotlight that Lane Kiffin doesn't want to run away from. I could see him eyeballing LSU if that comes open. It sucks for USC that they've already tried this tire because I'm sure they would. If he hadn't been there before, he would be number one on the list.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're USC if you don't revisit it.
I
Swallow
think
your
they are.
pride. Swallow your pride, man. I mean, do you want to miss out on it just because you say it wasn't the right time when you brought him in? I mean, there's a totally different power structure there. There's a totally different athletic director in place. And, you know, I mean, it would make sense to me. It would make sense to me. I mean, he's a California guy. But I don't, at this point, I don't know if he's been so many places since then, if he doesn't understand, hey, I'm good down here in the SEC. This is the best chance that we have to win a national championship. This is the best chance you have to compete in the sport year in, year out. And I appreciate it, but
Y'all are trying to be where I am.
right. I mean,
I think they have eyes for Eric Bieniemy, the Kansas City
That would be a
Chiefs
good
offensive
hire.
coordinator.
that would be a good
He's
hire.
been a name that's been talked about for
He deserves a
3 years.
chance. I mean,
People think he deserves a chance in the NFL.
he does. He does. I mean, he's been orchestrating the Kansas City Chiefs offense for the past 5 seasons. What else do you want him to do? You know what I mean? Like, how good do you want him to be? Right? I mean, as a coordinator said, well, it's Andy Reid. No, it's not. I mean, ask Patrick Mahomes, who he works with every single day. I mean, Mahomes has been Eric Bieniemy's. It's almost been as an agent. You know, I mean, Bieniemy's past due on an opportunity.
Well, I think that's some of what hurts him though is having an Andy Reid there who has obviously been one of the on the forefront of offensive masterminds since
Ingenuity.
he's been in the NFL. And then you look at the roster construct, it's like, well, he's got Patrick Mahomes, he's got Tyreek Hill, he's got all these players around him. So it's hard to see the forest for the trees if you're Eric Bieniemy. It's like, of course he gets lost in the shuffle. They just look too good.
No, I agree.
Like if he succeeded without a Patrick Mahomes, without a Tyreek Hill,
Sure.
and they were putting up 40.
He was pretty
they're
good with
like
Alex Smith.
Yeah.
He's pretty good with Alex Smith.
Timothy Gadecki said, any chance Saban set this up so he can retire and Lane goes to Bama in a couple of years? That's an interesting thought.
Dick move.
No, I don't know that. I mean, I don't see Saban walking away.
No.
I see him coming back here
I don't
if
see
the position comes open.
Yeah.
That would be incredible, but
Just saying.
Would you take Saban over Lane Kiffin
Yes.
right now if you got
Yes.
Saban for 3
Yes.
years?
Yes.
Why
you'd have to.
wouldn't you?
Are you
My
kidding me?
God.
you'd have to.
Saying you could have Lane for 10 or
No.
Saban for 3.
Instant gratification.
Saban for
If you
3.
ever have a chance at Saban, you have to take him.
just- take him.
Yes.
If you only have him for one, you take him. I mean, there is
might be a chance.
there is still Saban residue that you're living off of within the LSU program 20 years later.
Scraping that grinder.
There
I'm telling
always
you.
will be.
There is, yes.
Always.
Out in a couch
I
cushion.
mean, he set that thing up so good in 4 years. Had that thing running at such a high clip for 4 years that, I mean, you really could have plugged and played somebody as dumb as Les Miles
I knew that was
and
good.
turned him in to a $50 million coach. I mean,
Top 100 coach of all time.
that is, you took somebody that couldn't complete a sentence, couldn't pronounce the name of a state,
Arkansas.
couldn't really look at a whiteboard and tell you what the football X and O's was happening. I mean, to this day, my most favorite moment of Les Miles is when Bobby Hebert called his ass out in that press conference on January 9th and said, Coach, we can get on a whiteboard if you want. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to do that with me.
No, and I'm pissed.
But don't you think it'd be easy for him to come back here? Like, if he were
No
going to go
way,
anywhere.
bro. Are
I mean,
you
if
crazy?
Saban were going to go anywhere, this would
Do
be
you
the
know what the
easiest move.
Alabama people would do to him
No,
if he
I'm
took the
sure.
LSU job?
I don't mean
Think about what the
that
LSU people did to him when he took the Alabama job.
Absolutely.
And there was a 2-year gap.
I just meant for him to come back in and settle in and start play. Like, that would be, I feel like, an easier transition for him to come back here than it would be to go somewhere else.
Katie, why the hell would he want to do that at 70?
I don't know why you'd want
I
to
mean,
do
why
that.
would he want to take a place that he has turned into the Rolls Royce of college
The
football
machine.
and go back to a place that he knows so well? He knows the politics.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the bureaucracy. He knows the recruiting. He knows everything about the place. And
But he knows that here, too, right?
that's what I'm saying. He knows that
you're talking about
saying he
here.
knows all of the stuff here.
Yeah.
The only way that
Money.
I would even, but money's not an object either. I mean, he's making
Is
$12
it
million
not?
a year.
I don't know. I
He's
think
making
money
$12 million
talks
a
for
year.
him.
He's a partner at the Mercedes-Benz dealership in Alabama. There's a Nick Saban model of Mercedes that they sell in Alabama that he gets a cut on. He is making so much money right now that he doesn't even know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has so much money at this point in his career that I don't even know if you
can
could
spend it
offer
all.
something
I
to
can
him
spend
that
it.
would make him say, I'd jump. You know?
It
I
would
mean,
be money.
He lives in your favorite city, too. Why would he leave?
He does. T-Town.
yeah,
Your
right.
favorite city.
I mean,
Got set up for life.
I mean, the guy lives on Lake Tuscaloosa. Are you kidding me, bro?
Never been to Tuscaloosa
That
on a
is
Saturday
dream
night.
property. I mean, that is
Farmer's
dream
market?
real estate.
You know, I'm just putting it out there. That's all I'm saying. I put a
never
lot of
leave.
things out there.
He'd
But, I
never-
mean, when's his contract up? He's got like
It's a
10
lifetime contract.
Well,
bro.
no, but
It's
what
a
are the actual?
Krzyzewski contract.
What are
I
the
mean,
actual
it's-
years?
It's in blood.
From what I've been told, he's telling Arch Manning's,
You're my last guy.
You're the guy. I'm going to retire when you go pro. You're the last big time recruit that I'm going to recruit at the position. Come to Alabama. Let's close this thing out. Let's win a couple of national championships. You win the Heisman. Be the #1 pick. Put a Manning name on the back of an Alabama jersey, and let's just call it a day.
I'll
bro.
sign right now.
I mean, did you see Arch's comments about Alabama 2 weeks ago to 247?
He's impressed.
Just going
I
to
mean,
sleep.
he was like, that was very impressive. I mean, I would love to play in a program like that. Talking
I still
about,
think he's going to Texas.
I think
I'm
that
calling
Texas is the other player.
After a pitch like that.
But Saban ain't losing to Sarkisian.
Or
I'm saying
Dabo.
if Saban,
I mean, Sark makes one comment about NIL, about Texas. Next thing you know, Saban is at the Texas High School Coaches Association as the featured speaker, telling the room that Bryce Young's got $1 million in the vault waiting on him before he's taking a snap.
What a
and he
play.
left his vacation early. He was.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? What do you think Sark is doing, looking at that, watching that, like
Can't
this
compete.
bastard,
Looking at the whiskey
bro?
measure.
That's my room.
I mean, this guy, this dude, you just can't. You can't get him, bro. You cannot beat him. Now, I will tell you that him and Scott Woodward are thick as thieves,
Yeah.
tight. I mean, when Saban was here, Woodward was the lobbyist for LSU up at the Capitol, and Saban pays a lot of attention to that stuff. I mean, there's some stuff behind the scenes that Saban would tell his people, like, if y'all put Bobby Jindal in office, he's going to slash higher education. And that's going to be a big, big issue for LSU. And he saw the writing on the wall. And, I mean, look, 8 years later, you're still trying to recover from the thrashing of what Bobby Jindal did to higher education and much more throughout the state. I'm not getting into a political debate, but I'm just saying that Saban's paying attention to all that stuff. I mean, he knows he knows everything. He would never do a mask commercial for the governor. You know what I mean? Like, he's not. He's a Don. He's the Godfather.
Yeah,
he's the mafia boss.
I looked up on Google. It said he's 5'6". Is that true?
Yes.
Wait, really? That's my height.
Yes.
I mean,
He's
do
little.
we want to get into the height thing around
Little
here?
bitty,
God.
bro.
That's
No wonder he's like
touchy
Big where it
subject.
counts.
Little bitty.
Big heart.
Yeah.
Big
There
man.
are
brain.
there are tales that he is very intimidating in the locker room. You know what I
Not
mean?
a towel guy.
I mean, somewhere in the lineage, the man is Italian. And it's not because of his temper tantrums. You know what I mean?
Hand in hand.
It's not. Yes, they do.
Oh.
But look, man, it's fun. I think that Scott Woodward is confiding in him. I think that Scott Woodward is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Hey, man, if LSU's job opened up, what would you do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who would you recommend? I don't
Yeah.
even think he's talking to him from the sense of, would you take the job? I mean, I don't think that's almost understood. Now, maybe they have had the discussion of, if it opens up, would you ever consider it?
Well, that's when you get
No.
up from the chair and you're like, well, I have to ask one more question.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Are you interested?
Before I go,
Yeah, just
thank you
one
for
more.
everything.
Yeah.
But we could just kind of like throw this thing away if you want it. You know
Cheers.
what I mean?
No? Okay, thought so. All right, never mind. Go back to Lane.
Just spitballing.
Does that make you nervous at all if he is confiding in Nick Saban, and Nick Saban obviously has already derailed one LSU hire of Lane Kiffin? He wouldn't ever point you in the wrong direction, would he?
Now that's Scott Woodward's call. That's two friends talking. I don't know if it's two business consultants going at it. I think that conversation is very friendly in its tone. A back porch rocking chair type discussion. It's not some board meeting or conference call or some Zoom. I think that's a family vacation or a trip. A day trip on the boat with Saban on his lake, just kind of picking his brain on what the direction should be. And I think that they have that type of relationship. So I also believe that Scott Woodward's a very smart guy, and if Saban was trying to dupe him, he would probably be like,
For sure.
I'm not hiring Mario Cristobal, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
I have one right now.
Exactly.
Sure.
But, I think that he would definitely tell him the advantages of bringing in a guy like Lane and the stuff that you would have to look out for if you brought in a guy like Lane. And the same goes for Billy Napier, who was on Saban's staff at Alabama and was one of his top guys that, people close to Saban say that he thinks that Billy Napier is elite. You know what I mean? He thinks Billy Napier is one of his best disciples that he's produced.
And it seems like Napier is really he's doing the same thing that Lane's doing, where he's really building his resume in public, where he's scoring a bunch of touchdowns late. He's more involved in the microphone, like, scared money don't make money. He's putting his personality out there to say, all right, UL, this has been a great ride. It might be time that I take one of these bigger jobs that has been offered to me. So he's kind of building up his platform to where he doesn't skate by. He's trying to make himself almost bigger than the program is. Like, this is what I built, and now I'm ready to put my name in the hat for these other jobs.
No, I see that. I think that he's definitely auditioning in public. And a lot of people are looking at him as if, Lafayette is playing with house money on, still having him on campus. But we got way, way down the rabbit hole on this discussion.
Yeah.
Because, the LSU job is not even open. But, as we've talked about through the first part of the season, it feels like that seat and the temperature is warming up. And Ed Orgeron could silence that and douse the flames over the next couple of weeks, really, if he takes care of business. Now, this weekend is huge. This weekend is huge for the long-term security of Ed Orgeron. And it's probably a week-to-week thing.
100%.
It's probably a week-to-week debate, but some more crucial than others. I mean, if you lose to Mississippi State compared to losing to Auburn, it's probably the same because Auburn's at home.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You don't want to lose in front of, if you get that thing popping and you have 95,000 in there and then you have egg on your face at 8 o'clock at night against Auburn, those boo birds will be out.
I'll counter, just because the Mississippi State loss was so bad last year, and if we lose that, it reflects on the pain of last year, because we always say it's our mulligan COVID year, but then once we start tasting that again, the walls come up.
I agree. I think that's why this Mississippi State game is bigger than just it being Mississippi State. It's everything that happened in 2020.
I mean,
this is
big
when
skull drag.
Yeah, this is
KJ
when
Costello was a Heisman candidate after one game.
He was benched in the third game.
Right, and then we did the UCLA thing, the same thing. We're like, well, maybe they're actually good with Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Like, they might be a good team.
Right.
They lost 5 in a row. It's like, oh no, we suck.
We suck again.
Yeah. So
It's a huge weekend for LSU. Enormous weekend for LSU. Yeah. We'll see, man. It's about to ratchet up. Everything is about to kick up a notch of intensity as far as excitement, anxiety. I mean, all that. Here it comes. Here comes the meat of the schedule, the teeth of the schedule for LSU.
October,
everything
man.
that we debated, everything that we talked about in the offseason, you're here. Because I even threw in this Mississippi State game as the month of October, the last weekend of September, heading into Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, Ole Miss. I mean, that is... Think about how different the discussion can be a month from now. Think how fast the last month has gone.
I know, we're in game 4.
You're in game 4.
It's crazy.
We were in Pasadena a month ago.
I know.
A month ago,
It's
right?
going by so quickly.
So quick. Think about a month from now what the
Yeah.
conversation could be like. Either way. Could go either way, right? I mean, if LSU comes out of this thing 3-1,
I like that.
yeah.
3-1. You say so.
That gauntlet?
So you're looking at Mississippi State, you got Auburn, you got Florida, Kentucky, Ole Miss. So you got 5 games coming up that are going to make or break the future and the security of LSU football. It's either going to tighten up and become very secure, and the long term is going to look like it's in the direction in the hands of Ed Orgeron, or this thing is going to be knocked off of kilter and there's going to be a coaching search underway.
If he goes 2-3, that's that off kilter.
Yes. Depends on who the 2 wins and 3
how they
losses are against and what they look like. Right? I mean,
He's good.
Yeah, I mean that's.
in Lexington. I mean, that feels like a that's
Before
no
Florida.
longer a trap game. We called that a trap
I
game 3
remember
weeks
when
ago.
that was the easiest
That
game.
is not a trap. That becomes a crucial game for LSU.
Yeah, you'll be getting points.
What's that?
You'll be getting points.
Where are you favored at outside of this weekend? I mean, I guess now that you're under the lights of Tiger Stadium next weekend, it might be a 3,
Yeah.
a home field advantage, just a pick-em game. But the fact that it's in Tiger Stadium, you get the 3. But outside of that, I mean, in the state, in the way that we talk about and look and view LSU football presently, right now, where are they a favorite?
It's only ULM, and that doesn't even count.
Are you going to have
But-
a favorite over Auburn?
I just have them as a home field 3.
I would counter because Auburn played strong at Penn State. This is not going to be the first rodeo on the road. Bo Nix, I mean,
Yeah, I guess
there was times
that is a good point. I mean,
they
that
drove
atmosphere
back and
next
forth.
Saturday night's not going to be any more raucous than what they saw last Saturday night, and it's going to be wild. And I'm not here to debate on who's, you know what I mean? Like, I've never been to Happy Valley. I know it looks awesome on television. I got to imagine that it was very loud in there, right? And I know that it's going to be extremely loud next Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, and some of the things that happens there don't happen anywhere else. But Auburn's not going to look around and be like, whoa, this is, we've never seen anything like this.
Do we have to play?
Oh my god.
It's crazy that the whole, like all of this LSU football is, you're so right, it's just right in front of it. It's not even, you don't even have to wait till the end of the year. You'll be able to
unhealthy.
figure it out very quickly. It could be in the next 2 weeks, it could be in the next 5 weeks.
Yeah, Wes Shin says 4-1. He wins against Florida. He's the coach of the year. Could be in the conference. You know, I mean, like that's
And he gets dump truck by Alabama.
where it is. The hot girls are back.
I know.
I
It's a
wonder
good
what,
thing or a
I wonder
bad
what
thing?
triggered him.
I think it was what
Saban
I
talk?
said.
Saban
talk.
When Lloyd said he's not a towel guy.
They originate in Tuscaloosa.
It was you talking about Nick's Italian
I
situation.
think it was
Hammer?
the F boys, the hammer. What do I do with these? Pin them?
Nick's hammer?
Him.
I'll hide this user. Okay. All right. That's enough of that.
Lloyd, they're back looking for you.
I don't know.
They are.
Can you give us your credit card, for God's sakes?
Do one only.
You've been watching the free preview now for 3 weeks.
I have kids to
Just
feed.
Push your
recorded
info
on my
in.
phone.
Scan your mom's credit card, for God's sakes, Lloyd.
Didn't we just get a new company card? Where's that one? What happened to the old one? Still a couple dollars on that thing.
Business expense.
Keeps getting the massages.
Sports massage.
Yeah, right.
Big Packers fan.
Advertising.
Yeah, me and McCarthy are running around.
Keep asking me to come back and talk advertising and numbers with them.
I'm paying you, or you paying? Oh, I'm paying you.
Right. That was good stuff about Tyrann Mathieu yesterday, huh?
Yeah.
The stuff with Frank Wilson. We heard back from Matthew on that. Got when we put out the social media yesterday, we tagged Tyrann in it and put the discussion of he and Frank Wilson out there, and Tyrann hit us yesterday and said he appreciated us talking about him, and confirmed, said that he wants to be the head football coach of LSU, wants to bring the program 10 championships and change the lives of thousands while doing that. I teared up when I read that. I really did. I mean, just to see where, kind of knowing him like we do. I mean, when I first started covering LSU football, his freshman season was the first team that I covered. So that when he was wearing number 14, and Frank Wilson told me when we showed up for media day, they were like pointing out all the Patrick Peterson was there. I mean, it was those teams. So we were talking all the big time players, and he said, I will never forget this. He looked at Tyrann Mathieu and said, he is going to be a superstar. And we were like, who? And he was like, right there, number 14. And we were like saying his name, Mathau.
Mathau.
Yeah. And everybody was like, Mathau? And he was like, Matthew. And I was like, Coach, he's my size. Like, legitimately, he was my size. I mean, he was 5'8", 180 pounds. And I was like, what does he do? Is he a kicker? I mean, like, what does he do? And he just says, I can't explain it. I'm just telling you, he's going to be a superstar. And I mean, his first game against North Carolina, he had 2 sack fumbles off the edge in the first half, and you're like, who is this kid, man? And to what happened to him at LSU, to where he is in the league now, and to hear that he wants to come back and be a head coach
That's pretty cool.
at the State University. And I told him in that DM, if you say it, I believe it. Like, if you say you want to be the head football coach, I believe that he's going to be the head football coach at LSU one day. You know what I mean? Like,
Honey Badger. But don't you? I mean, I agree with you, because don't you think that's what Tyrann Mathieu's based around, his passion? Like, if he's passionate about one thing, I don't see him getting denied by anything.
No
because
way.
Yeah.
he could have quit so many times, and for him to be where he is right now.
and he also,
it's
at that
testament to
point in his
character.
career, whenever he gets there, he doesn't need to do that. He's doing it for the right reasons. I mean, he'll probably have $80 million in the bank when he has when he makes that decision, legitimately. I mean, on the field, he's made about $50 million. Off the field, he has invested very wisely. I mean, his money manager is right here in Baton Rouge. Peter Wright manages all of those guys' money and has talked about how smart Tyrann has been with his cash. I mean, like, has invested very, very intelligently and has seen an incredible amount of return. By the time he makes that choice, I'd imagine he'll probably have close to $100 million in the bank. The last thing he needs to do is chase around 16 to 18-year-olds for half a year and try to plead with them to come to LSU. And he wants to do that. Read his social media account during the games. It's almost like he's interviewing for the job. I mean, he's breaking down the game as if he's watching film, just to give you some sense of an idea of, I don't think anybody out there would ever question his football expertise, his football knowledge, his football IQ, but he's showing it all for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't need any validation from anybody out there to say, oh yeah, God knows what he's talking about.
Watch him play.
Yeah, right. I mean, just turn the film on, but it's almost as if he's showing you, just kind of letting you know, like, hey, man, I know that LSU didn't win any leverage all night against UCLA. I mean, like, those tweets that he was putting out during that game was very much like...
He watches it different.
Yes.
He wouldn't be able to jump straight in and be the head coach of LSU. He'd have to go Deion Sanders route. Would he go?
I don't know if you could. I don't know. By that time, I don't know what it's going to be like because Deion's probably going to change the game. I think some big university is going to take a swipe on Deion, and Deion could go in there and make you a national champ within
I think so too.
2 or 3 seasons. If I'm USC, I'd call him. I mean, he makes so much sense in Los Angeles. He's a big personality. If I'm Florida State, it's mindless to make that guy the head coach. You're this bad, and this guy's in the trade, and he loves it like this, and he can team build like this. What do you have to lose?
And he already tried to do that. He tried to get with Florida State to get it like even an interview. And I think they kind of shrugged it off. It was like Deion's not serious.
Well, I think they put him on staff as like a like the Ed Reed, like Kevin Falk had that a couple of years back, where he's like the player personnel guy, where he brought him in and he would kind of
ambassador.
Uncle. He was almost like consult. He would help you out with everything. He could help you draw plays up, and he could help talk to a freshman who was worried about sleeping away from home for the first time in his life. But
I mean, how long has Mike Norvell been at Florida State?
2 years?
3 years?
A Jacksonville State loss later, bro. I mean, get the hell out of here. You ain't the guy. I mean, he's not recruiting anybody. They're losing all those players from Florida. They're not getting. I mean, turn on the Florida State. You're like, who are these guys? Nobody out here can play. I mean, like that. We were talking about Miami earlier. I mean, nobody can play.
Where are those guys going? Alabama, Florida,
Clemson,
Clemson,
Ohio State.
Clemson
Look at Ohio State's roster. Ohio State is littered with Florida players. South Florida guys. I mean, Alabama goes down. He does what he does in Louisiana. You know what I mean? You give me their top 3 guys.
I'll get 2.
Yeah, let me just go get 2 of the 3 of them. I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I think that somebody before Tyrann Mathieu gets into the coaching game is going to take a chance on one of these former players, Eddie George, Deion Sanders, somebody that's doing it at a high level, or not the highest level, but at a level that you can really get prepared for, and just say, man, how much worse can it get at USC? How much worse can it get at Miami? How much worse can it get at Florida State? I mean, these guys are performing not on this level, but the formula they're getting the players, their teams are tight, the chemistry is there.
Look cool.
I mean, they obviously know the game. I mean, by that time, if Deion Sanders has come in and made an impact, or somebody like that,
opens up the floodgates.
You look at Tyrann Mathieu and you say, man, if this guy wants to coach, bring him in.
Yeah, because, I mean, like you said, the recruiting is such a that would be, if Deion Sanders is repping Florida State and you can just throw on the tape, like, who says no to that? Like, everybody knows who Deion is. People, like, Kevin Falk is that to a lesser degree in Louisiana, but he ain't the head coach. If it was Deion at Florida State, I do think that I could see them. I guess the only thing that you would have pushback on is if you say it can't get worse, it could. You could go 2-8, and then you got Deion on the sidelines, and you're just like, this looks like a shit show. Like, we're just hiring whoever. Like, you're just bringing in Deion because he played for you. The conversation can turn quickly. But if it's a success, it's a home run.
Get in touch with Daniel Newman over at Edward Jones. He is our financial advisor out there in Central Louisiana. Let him become yours. He's online at daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. You can find him online, and you can find him out in Central. Let him help you with any types of investments that you may be curious about. Daniel Newman. He can also help you out with questions that you may have about your 401k, Social Security, anything about your finances that you may be weary on. Let Daniel help you out this morning. He's been tremendous for us. We rolled over our 401k to him back in February and seen a dramatic return in just a short amount of time since having our money over there with Daniel Newman. Daniel.Newman@EdwardJones.com. Appreciate all the interaction. Thank you for being there today. We're supposed to link up with Kayshawn today at noon, so we may be back with you producing some content. Kayshawn Butte for Booty Calls. As the
afternoon delight,
the number one, the top wide receiver as far as numbers go, still leading the country in touchdowns. BJ leading the country in sacks. Kayshawn leading the country in touchdown receptions at wide receiver. So the NIL stuff has worked out through the first month.
Not too bad.
We will talk to Kayshawn here at about noon today. We will give you some confirmation if that falls in line and let you know on social media. So keep your eyes out and keep your alerts on. Set the bell and notifications on YouTube. That way you can know if it comes live to you. Make sure you like, share, comment throughout the day. We appreciate that very much, and it gives us an opportunity to get in front of more eyeballs and more people, which is good for us, and we appreciate you helping us out on that. Enjoy your Wednesday. We're back with you at some point today. Talk to Kayshawn. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. As always, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
2010 roster had 24 people go to an NFL.
Oh my God.
The time was the best.